Hi, everyone, and welcome to One Mind Miracles with Kwana, and I'm Kwana. Welcome to the channel. I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks. I've been doing videos pretty much when I feel it, so I don't have a real schedule as to when I do it. I don't have a regular schedule, and I was definitely feeling it today. And I want to talk today about what it means to be the miracle. Now, I talk obviously primarily on my channel about miracles. And it took me years to discover what miracles actually are, what a miracle actually is. And if you're on this channel, you're probably wanting to know what it is either, or maybe you've experienced them yourself. I have another video that I'll link in the description section going into more detail about what a miracle is, at least according to A Course in Miracles, which is the spiritual text that I happen to study. And there are many different pathways out there. Mine happens to be A Course in Miracles. But the important thing about a miracle is that it has to do with a shift in your mind. It's pretty much considered conventionally that a miracle is something fantastical that seems to happen. Or maybe it's something that happened thousands of years ago in the Bible, or it's certain things that Jesus Christ performed when he was physically here 2,000 years ago. Uh, and we've actually heard about modern day miracles, things that seem unexplainable, and there seems to be this beautiful outcome or beautiful healing or something beautiful that seems to happen, right? But a miracle is actually your mind shifting from a fearful way of thinking to a loving way of thinking. And so, what do I mean by the title of this particular video, which is we're not here to just watch miracles happen. We're here to be the miracle. And this gets into this whole definition that I'm sharing here. When we are able to train our minds to start to consistently think in loving ways, consistently see everything that's happening either in our own lives or the world as something that's actually divinely orchestrated. Okay, and I don't want to get into the details in this video about what I mean by that. That's really a subject for another video. But if we can even begin with our own lives and begin to see that, or be willing to see that perhaps there's a divine orchestration going on, something that is going on behind the scenes that's really here to serve us, that's really here to help us. And I mean the one mind of the sonship of God, okay? We're really one unified mind. And when we realize that in this world that really is the ego's world or the devil's world or whatever you want to call it, that this has been overcome actually by God, because God sent forth a presence that healed this world and made it so that everything that seems to be going on in this world now has the purpose of healing and waking us up to the remembrance of God. All right? That is only if we choose it, though. Okay? We have to choose that. And that's where the inner nudgings and the urgings come in one's life if you realize that you are on a spiritual journey. If you're listening to this video, I guarantee you are on a spiritual journey, or at least you're curious about it, right? So being the miracle has to do with a shift in your mind, because when we're able to consistently open our hearts, when we're consistently able to accept ourselves as children of God, as extensions of God, even if we don't feel it, even if we may not believe it at first. But when we can take steps on some kind of spiritual path that requires a level of discipline, okay, mind training discipline, that is designed to help us realize that our real thoughts have to do with the love of God within us. Okay? So when we start to want to embrace this about ourselves, want to realize that we are vessels of God, that we don't get love from outside of ourselves. We don't get love from people. We don't get love from situations. We don't get love from circumstances or money or jobs or any of those things. That in truth, we are sustained by a loving God. And that God did not make a world that's based on chaos and death and all of the things that we seem to see going on in this world that seem so terrible and upsetting, right? We realize that when we even if we have an inkling of being willing to realize this, if we're willing to take a step back and use our own lives as an example and think, wait a minute, just say to ourselves, wait a minute, I really feel like in my heart, there's got to be more than this, that I am more than this body, that there's a loving presence inside of me that I feel, that I want to tune into that. And that's when the flow starts. That's when the flow begins. That's when you feel guided to a certain spiritual path or certain ideas or teachings, right? And then you start to realize when your mind starts to think more loving thoughts consistently, that is when the effects of miracles seem to occur, because God is the source of miracles. God is the source of the human mind deciding to shift out of the human condition and realizing that, wait a minute, I'm actually a loving being of spirit. I might be having this human experience, but I really am a loving spiritual being that is eternal. Okay? And there are many, many different thoughts of God. But what I said right there about, actually, I'm a loving being that's eternal, that is a miraculous thought right there. Or, you know what? Maybe I would rather believe that I'm supported and sustained by God instead of thinking I'm sustained by a job or money. And that when God pours through me, I extend it out through my happiness, through my joy, and in the knowing of that, that's why I'm happy. I'm not happy because of circumstances. I'm happy because now I'm starting to remember who I am. This is what I mean by being the miracle. A Course in Miracles says that there's a part of the Course that states that you are the miracle. You are the miracle. And what I've discovered, my husband and I have discovered this because we've been dedicated to living a miraculous life. And that does and still means that we have to face a lot of things in ourselves and together. And we have to pray, and we have to really feel this in our heart and allow our lives to be handed. In other words, we hand everything in our lives over to God, over to the Holy Spirit, which is really our spiritual mind, our spiritual eye, the higher self, the voice for God. And when we do this on a consistent basis, and since we've been doing this on a consistent basis, we have experienced the effects of so many miracles in the last few years. financial miracles, relationship miracles, symptom miracles, and on and on and on. Okay? We've come to experience this for real. And that is how we know that we are the miracle, because God cannot perform miracles. Jesus cannot arrange time and space for things to be miraculous unless we are willing to be the miracle. That is what I mean by being the miracle. And isn't that empowering? Isn't it empowering to ponder that perhaps I am the miracle? It's not something that happened thousands of years ago. It's not something that I have to earn and figure out. It's not something that I have to try to study really hard and be better, or be better spiritually, or get more education or degrees or whatever. No, 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 no. You can do it right now just by being willing to think thoughts of love. And that requires training. We need mind training. That's why we need something like A Course in Miracles, or you can use whatever it is. It doesn't matter what you use. Because as I say all the time in this channel, God does not care how we find our way back to the truth of the love of who we are. But we are the ones that have to choose it. So that's what I mean by you're not sitting around waiting for miracles or watching miracles. You are the miracles. And if you've noticed something miraculous happening around you after you started thinking that way, that even thinking that miracles are possible is a shift from fear to love. Okay? A lot of people don't believe it, because in this world, we're taught to not believe in something until it presents itself physically. But that's really not how it works. We have to believe. And it says in, I believe, the New Testament, Jesus says that all you need is a mustard seed size of faith. That's all you need to move mountains. So let me know in the comments if you have questions, or if you've experienced miracles. You know, there was something in you that experienced something like this, or something seemed to happen physically that has no explanation, that seemed to override all the earth laws, even if it seems small to you. Please let me know in the comments. And remember, we're not only here to watch miracles, watch the effects of miracles. We are here to be the miracle. And in fact, we don't have to do anything. We are the miracle. Many blessings.